In May 2015, a shocking tragedy shook an upscale neighborhood in Washington, D.C., when a beloved family, the Savopoulos, and their housekeeper, Veralicia Figueroa, were brutally murdered in their lavish home. Amy and Savas Savopoulos, along with their son Philip, were found dead after their home was set on fire. Photos and videos from police evidence, some of which are being made public for the first time, have been used to help convict the man accused of these heinous crimes. Darren Wint was convicted of murder, kidnapping, burglary, extortion, arson and theft. Despite his not guilty pleas, Wint was convicted for these unforgivable acts that devastated an entire community. This dark chapter in the history of the nation's capital leaves behind unanswered questions and indelible pain for those who lost their loved ones in this senseless tragedy. Darren Wint's trial for the home invasion and brutal murders lasted 7 weeks. During the trial, his defense argued that his brothers were the perpetrators of the murders while he was unconscious on the ground floor. His brother Daryl Wint testified against him and provided an alibi for the time period of the crimes. He has not been charged in this case. The man accused of the 2015 Quadruple murder, where 3 members of a family and their housekeeper were killed in their Washington, D.C., home before it was set on fire, has been found guilty. Amy, Savas and Philip Savopoulos, along with their housekeeper, Veralicia Figueroa, were brutally murdered in May 2015 in the family's multi-million-dollar home in an upscale neighborhood of the nation's capital. Darren Wint was convicted of murder, kidnapping, burglary, extortion, arson and theft. His sentencing hearing has been set for February. During the 7-week trial, Wint's defense argued that his brothers were the real culprits, while he was left unconscious downstairs. His brother Daryl Wint testified against him and provided an alibi for the time period of the crimes. Authorities described the horrific act as requiring the presence and assistance of more than one person. Savas Savopoulos' driver told police that his boss sent him a text message the day before the murders, ordering him to withdraw $40,000 and leave the money on the seat of one of the cars parked in the car's garage. Family. The driver carried out the orders, according to police. ABC News obtained photos of evidence from inside the Savopoulos mansion, surveillance videos of Wint, a 911 call made on the day of the house fire and other evidence presented at Wint's trial. Wint. Beginning on May 13, 2015, the victims were held hostage overnight, while the adults were tied to chairs, beaten with a baseball bat, and strangled. An autopsy found the couple's 10-year-old son Philip was killed by thermal and puncture wounds. He was found in his room. Investigators said the fire in the house was started in Philip's bedroom. Amy Savopoulos' Porsche was found on fire in a church parking lot in neighboring Prince George's County, Maryland, the same afternoon the bodies were discovered. Wint was linked to the scene after investigators found traces of DNA on a half-eaten pizza found in the home. After a nationwide manhunt, police found him on May 20, 2015, stopping his car near the Maryland-Washington, D.C. border. Inside, they found a large package of what appeared to be $100 bills and money orders, according to court documents. The 4 were held hostage for hours before they were killed and their house burned down last month. Authorities are intensely focused on searching for evidence in the vehicles in which Wint and his accomplices were traveling on the night of May 21. Darren Wint was named as a suspect in the murders of Savas Savopoulos, his wife Amy, their son Philip and their housekeeper Veralicia Figueroa, whose bodies were found in the Savopoulos home after it was set on fire on April 14. May. Police did not publicly release Wint's name until a week later, after they were able to positively match DNA found on an uneaten pizza crust left inside the mansion. In the hours before and after the public announcement, the manhunt was underway. Fernandez said investigators were able to trace the Prince George's County, Maryland, resident to Brooklyn, New York, on Wednesday evening, but they were too late. Officers from the U.S. Marshal Service and New York Police Department went there, but he had just fled, so they barely missed him, Fernandez said. NYPD sources told ABC News that they are still unsure whether Wint was actually in Brooklyn. Although police said they traced his phone to the borough, they have no other evidence beyond his girlfriend's testimony physically locating him in New York. Although Washington Police Commissioner Kathy Lanier said she believed he was in Brooklyn around noon Thursday, New York investigators later clarified Thursday that they were not confident in the testimony, which had initially led them to believe he was there. Now that has changed as well, with a law enforcement official now telling ABC News that Wint actually took a bus to New York to visit his girlfriend who lives in the Canarsie section of Brooklyn. He then allegedly hired a private taxi to take him back to D.C. either late Wednesday night or early Thursday morning, paying in cash that may have been the money he is suspected of stealing from the Savopolis home, the prosecutor said. Source: the taxi driver has been identified to authorities and may now be meeting with investigators, according to the source. Fernandez said U.S. Marshals then used additional information, although he did not specify what that intelligence was. They eventually found Wint in College Park, Maryland. We were able to cross-reference the information we were getting from both locations and determined that he was on his way back to the D.C. area. We just had to know where he was heading, Fernandez said. Authorities located Wint at a Howard Johnson's and planned to arrest him inside, but Fernandez said plans changed. Things are always moving when you're trying to track down an individual and they're mobile, and before we could get to the hotel, 2 vehicles left and he was in one of the vehicles, Fernandez said. The 20 law enforcement vehicles that were near the hotel then began following the 2 cars as they drove north along Highway 1. The officers waited to give chase to the car because they wanted to be sure he was in the vehicle. At that point, the cars made a crazy U-turn and the marshals thought they had been spotted, Fernandez said. Apparently this was not the case as the motorcade continued into Washington, D.C. until just after 11 p.m. when the arrest finally took place. We reached the point where we knew we could tactically stop them safely, so we did it without a vehicle hold maneuver on both cars and were able to stop them and everyone without a single person. Shot is fired, Fernandez said. Wint was in a car with another man and 2 women, and 2 other men were in the second car, authorities said. Law enforcement sources told ABC News that none of the others traveling with Wint were arrested. Wint is the only one facing charges at this time.